The Calgary Flames are a playoff team heading into back-to-back Battles of Alberta.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. My name is Ryan G. This is Locked On Flames, part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I am Ryan G., as I mentioned, lifelong play-by-play broadcaster based in the Pacific Northwest and a Flames fan since Peter Marr brought me into the Sea of Red back during the 2004 Stanley Cup final. Huge radio guy. Peter Marr is one of the legends, so excited to be in this chair to talk Flames hockey with you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Calgary is a playoff team, certainly playing to that caliber after a win over the weekend over the Vegas Golden Knights. They have been red hot, the Calgary Flames, and some key matchups in the Pacific Division against Edmonton this week on each side of Christmas. And then you have a shorthanded success story in the way that the Calgary Flames continue to find opportunities out of the penalty kill unit to a point where Calgary is now tied for the league lead in shorthanded goals. Plus, we'll talk more about official opponent jersey rankings. Every Monday, we'll look into what the opposing teams wore in their matchups with the Flames and give them an official ranking on Locked On Flames. Let's start out with the win for Calgary over the weekend against the Vegas Golden Knights. VGK comes into the Saddle Dome, and they weren't humbled, but Calgary took advantage of every opportunity that Vegas gave them, every mistake that the Golden Knights created. Calgary took advantage of. Stopped a point streak of 9 games for VGK. Despite being outshot by 11, Calgary was victorious by a 3-goal margin. One of those, an empty netter late, but still Calgary basically handled a multi-goal lead the entire time against a team that has continued to have a ton of success in the Pacific Division, a team that hasn't really faltered much in the 2025-26 season, especially on the road. This was just the 3rd regulation loss for Vegas in road contests this season. So really huge victory for Calgary, and a lot of that had to do with Michael Backland. He continues to play well, gets the multi-goal game again, and found just opportunities like he did against the Kraken earlier in the week as well. And it's great to see somebody like Michael Backland have some success. He spoke to NHL Flames on X about just that.
I thought we had a really good start, and then we stuck with it all night. They pushed back, but we grinded hard, and it was a big win for us, and against a really good team.
How hot is your hand right now?
Some good plays. Just trying to go to net and put the puck in, and obviously it feels good to score some goals and help the team win.
Backland's December production has been outstanding. It's great to see when you get someone like Michael, who's one of the longest tenured Flames in history, having success, and it's fueling success for the team. 5 goals, 2 assists, and a +9 plus minus in the month of December, as Calgary has continued to just make a little bit of progress in being a team that definitely doesn't have everything that you want a Flames team to have. This is not a squad that's built for a guaranteed playoff spot, and then it's kind of, well, wait till they get into the postseason, and then we'll see what happens. That is not what the Calgary Flames are by any means. But what they are doing right now is showing that if you can get some goal production, and what was interesting too about the game against Vegas was how well they played despite not even having a power play opportunity. Now, we've talked in prior episodes of Locked On Flames how nightmarish the power play has been at times. It almost feels like the Flames do play better when they are in 5-on-5 situations, and perhaps the game on Saturday proved that. But At the same time, Calgary has been doing a nice job fighting back in games. The difference on Saturday was they scored early. They scored first. In fact, they've led the Vegas Golden Knights on home ice 2-0 in both of their matchups. It's just that Vegas came back and ended up getting a victory in the first battle in Calgary. This time was not the case, and scoring first was a big deal for Calgary. Ryan Huska, the head coach of the Calgary Flames, discussed more about Calgary's win over the Golden Knights on Saturday on NHL Flames on X.
That line, I think, has, over the last little bit, they're playing a much quicker game. And I think all three of them, two for sure, all three of them have been much harder on the puck. And I think that's the difference. Mike's going to the net more now, and I mentioned it a little while ago, I can't remember who asked the question, but I feel like he's now up to speed. It took him a little while to get there, but now he's going.
Calgary getting production. Connor Zary, certainly one of the youngest Flames on the roster. When you look at the forwards group, he's in fact the third youngest Flames player. And when you start to get production from your younger players, it's going to make a huge difference. I was ecstatic last week when you saw Matt Coronato get a goal. To give credit to Matt, I mean, he's been good in the Saddle Dome this year with 7 of his 11 goals coming from home ice or on home ice. But Zary gets 3 assists in that matchup against the Golden Knights on Saturday. And Calgary is 6-3-0 in December. Zary has 4 of his 6 assists in that month. And so that's a huge deal for Zary to get some offensive production, get some points, find teammates who are able to score. And that's also something that both Ryan Huska and MacKenzie Weegar talked about to NHL Flames on X, was how much Zary and that line have had some opportunities this year that maybe are starting to emerge more consistently right now.
I thought Connor was really good tonight. Like, he had the puck on his stick a lot. He had great composure with it tonight, and I thought he had impact when he was on the ice. So when he leaves the rink tonight, one, he should feel good about his effort and the way he played the game, but players always feel better when they see their name on the score sheet, and for him to get 3 assists tonight, I think is a real good thing for him, and it's something that I think he can use to kind of propel himself forward.
He's just he's unbelievable. I thought it was a great play by Zary, putting the puck on the right guy's stick in that situation. I thought Lombo did the right thing, and obviously, Lombo, is fast and jumped ahead of Zary and tucked it away.
Coach Huska followed by MacKenzie Weegar. Weegar, one of the 3 stars from the game on Saturday against the Golden Knights. And credit Calgary, scoring first was certainly a key to this matchup, but so was the fact that they held that lead into the third period, because Vegas is the best team in third period comebacks this year, something that the Calgary Flames have known well in past seasons, certainly. And there were a lot of good looks early. Goaltending, a key to how Calgary has built out this run after the disastrous first month. And so all of that to say, the Calgary Flames are, in fact, a playoff team. Will they make the playoffs? That's a whole different story, because are they good enough to be one of those squads who can get atop the likes of the Kings, even the Oilers, as you look at what's going to happen in these back-to-back Battle of Alberta games on either side of the Christmas break? So there's much work to do, and Calgary has to play as consistently, if not more consistently, than a lot of the other teams in the Western Conference to make a playoff spot. But at the same time, really good things coming out of that matchup against VGK, and shorthanded goals might be a reason that Calgary does make the playoffs. We'll talk more about that in just a moment as this episode of Locked On Flames continues. There is nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it is unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets, long queues, endless screens, and prices changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I pulled up the Game Time app to check out upcoming NHL games and was surprised how fast it was to find great seats. Always like seeing if I'm going to be in a city. Oftentimes find myself kind of in the Bay Area. Are the Sharks in town? Pulling up where I can get a seat in the Shark Tank, one of my favorite venues that I've ever been in, and just one of those spots where I realized, oh my gosh, hockey is the perfect combination of sight and sound. You can get zone deals. They are so clutch. You choose the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thanks so much for making Locked On Flames your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. There's so many great things that you get access to when you decide to become an Everydayer Club member, including ad-free audio of Locked On Flames. You're finding that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every major podcast app. It is yours to have ad-free. And we'll get you an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server. There's group chats for listeners of this show. And just as we start to kind of take shape with me in the hosting chair and Locked On Flames, how many opportunities will we have to maybe do some fun stuff together with you in the Everydayer Club, maybe some live watches. I am a big fan of live. I definitely see the recording of this podcast start to happen live in the 2026-27 season. So very excited that you are here. Please check it out. LockedOnFlames.supercast.com is where you can join us as an Everydayer Club member. Shorthanded goals. The Calgary Flames, a playoff team. Its potential, it's certainly there. Calgary has shown that in the last week of play. And they've also shown that if they want to find a generational talent like the likes of Macklin Celebrini, maybe you don't want to see the Flames get into the playoffs. Let's continue to have that conversation with you, Flames fans. Trek or tank? Are you going to trek toward the Western Conference playoffs, or are you going to continue to possibly fall down the standings and get yourself in a better position for the lottery and find one of those top 3 picks in the entry draft? Certainly looking and gunning for #1 if you're looking for those ultimate talents. We're looking at you, Penn State. Pacific Division, 36 games played now for Calgary. They're tied with Nashville at 35 points right now. Calgary is sitting 5 points behind Utah and the LA Kings, now tied with Nashville at 34 points, 2 behind St. Louis, I should say. And so, 15, 17, and 4. It's been a good stretch. Flames will be heading over to take on Edmonton. Connor McDavid was definitely ready to go in that matchup with them in a 4-3 victory in their last game. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins ended up having 2 power play goals in the Oilers' 4-3 victory in their last outing. So some big things on the horizon for the Calgary Flames as they continue to celebrate the 6-3 win over the Golden Knights. Just the 3rd regulation loss of the season on the road for Vegas. And that's a big deal because the Flames did it in part because of solid goaltending, which I want to address in just a moment. Devin Cooley had a fabulous game for the Flames, now tied with the Kings and Ducks for the most shorthanded goals. Joel Farabee and Blake Coleman have 3 of those apiece. And what success looks like when you have a team that can score off the PK unit. When Calgary is already struggling to be a consistent goal-scoring team, finding production in other ways is certainly a key for them to continue to move forward. So excited that Calgary has found a way to be a shorthanded gem, a shorthanded leader this year in the NHL, officially at that top mark with 6 shorthanded goals this season. For Calgary to be able to overcome a lot of their vulnerabilities, namely how poor they are on the power play. Finding production in those special teams areas is going to be the difference between Calgary being a postseason team and not. And so if Blake Coleman, Joel Farabee, any others can continue to find those opportunities in PK transition, being able to get the puck out there and put it in the net, that'd be huge. MacKenzie Weegar, who's always a staple too on a lot of those special teams units, talked about how much success Calgary has had on shorthanded opportunities with NHL Flames on X.
We're all on the same page. I think obviously they scored a weird goal on the PK tonight. If we're going to give goals up like that, then so be it. But I think, Cully's been great on the PK. He's got us ready to go before games. Our pre-scouts are great. Guys are jumping over the boards and are ready to, kill penalties and show up in those situations for the team. And I think, the guys that are out there, especially, Beezer and Colsey, Bax, Beecher, I think their game 5-on-5 contributes to playing big minutes on the PK. So I think it's huge for us. That goal was a great goal. Obviously, a little individual effort from Beezer tonight, who's been all over the net in countless games. But I think the confidence right there is it's really high, and I think it's coming from Cully, who's the PK coach right now.
Yeah, shorthanded goals. MacKenzie talking about it there is also, I think, reaping the benefits of how good the goaltending team of Devin Cooley and Dustin Wolf have been this year for the Calgary Flames. I mentioned in the first segment how Calgary is a playoff team, and they're certainly a squad that has playoff caliber goaltending. I don't think that has been in question at all this year, other than how difficult Dustin Wolf's start to the 2025-26 season was comparatively to how Wolfie played last year, right? And so he was right up there, some of the best goaltenders, certainly from the younger group of goaltenders. And then you compare this year Cooley's play to Dan Vladar's a year ago, and this is a huge difference maker. I mean, the Flames continue to get 10 to 15, top 10 to 15 performances from their goaltending units, especially in the last 6 weeks or so. But even more so, the fact that Cooley is there statistically in goals allowed per game. Compare Cooley this year to where Vlad was last year. I mean, Vlad was in like the lower part of the 20s, and that's a huge difference maker too. The likes of Rasmus Andersson already at 25 points this year and had 31 of all of last year. And if Andersson is the piece that is dealt for Calgary to also take what could be a playoff team now and continue to try to find ways to compile capital or find players that can help them be a more consistent scoring team going into next year and the years beyond that, if they're not a team that's going to get a top 3 pick, which certainly feels like after this homestand, I think as we get into 2026, I think that's going to be the case. Calgary played as well as you possibly can against a team that's led the division right now in second place in Vegas. And I don't think Calgary has any reason to kind of slow per se compared to what we saw on Saturday in the way that they're playing at home. And with this huge amount of home games going into the calendar year flip, even if Andersson is dealt, Hunter Brustevich is playing really well. Even Coach Huska kind of acknowledged that after the VGK game. And I think the argument would be, and you can let me know in the comments, Vegas was missing certainly key pieces, namely Jack Eichel, who's out with an illness. They're also without Shea Theodore, who's week to week right now. So granted, this was not a full strength Vegas unit, but at the same time, I mean, there's going to be teams that come into your building who aren't at full strength. And that was a pretty good performance from Calgary on Saturday. So when you have at least some areas where you're putting up statistical leadership in the way that the Calgary Flames are playing in net, the way that they're playing in shorthanded situations, certainly reasons to be optimistic if you want to see the Calgary Flames make the playoffs. I love aesthetics. I love the looks. Calgary does have one of the best looks in all of the NHL. So how well did the Flames opponents from last week look on the ice? We'll talk the official opposing team jersey rankings when this episode of Locked On Flames rolls on. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or momentum flips after a turnover. And FanDuel is there with live spreads and money lines adjusting instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scorers, drive results, and more. Tough weekend. The first time in a while the Broncos have struggled. Losing at home to Jacksonville, there's just something about playing the Jaguars in Denver that's not fun. It's been the case over the last 4 or 5 games played in Denver, but Kansas City is the next opponent for the Broncos. Minus 13.5 at Arrowhead on Christmas Day. It's backup quarterback Palooza in Kansas City right now. You never know how things will change as Gardner Minshew was taken out of the game that Kansas City played earlier this week. And so you never know. That's why live betting is there for you. And if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. The Calgary Flames get the win over the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday. There were elements of shorthanded success there that makes Calgary a playoff team. And if you're looking at aesthetics only, Calgary Flames are always a playoff team. They have one of the best looks in all of the National Hockey League, including with the alternate jersey. I didn't see that last week at the Saddle Dome for the Calgary Flames, but we did see one alternate jersey, and that was from the San Jose Sharks. They wore the black with teal accents. That was in San Jose, to be specific. They wore that one at home as Calgary was on the road last Tuesday. And as we turn to our official opponent jersey rankings, I'm telling you, this is what made me think to do this segment in the first place, is how good the Sharks looked because of those dark black jerseys. And I actually am in lockstep with, I think, UniWatch, which was the former blog that talks about this exact thing that we're chatting about on Locked on Flames, is black for black's sake, just trying to find a way to have a black alternate. Clearly the Flames do have that. Calgary used to wear the black jersey instead of the red at home as their standard home jersey. But as much as I prefer teams to kind of move away from teal, I mean, teal had its rise in the 90s with the Charlotte Hornets. I mentioned the Jaguars who beat Denver. They have a pretty huge teal structure to their jerseys, but there was just something about that shark fin on the front. I kind of like the circular logo, which again, making logos circular for no reason, but you want to have them be such is not necessarily something I'm on board with. But I think the Sharks have a chance to win last week's official opposing team jersey rankings, because that black look is solid. I even like the numbers that are on the back of those Sharks jerseys. That could be their standard font for all of their jerseys. But wow, I think in the situations where you're using the striping on the sleeves, the Sharks does look the best out of a lot of the jerseys that are out there. And so I'm going to give the Sharks probably a B+ for the way that they arrived at SAP Center for the game against the Calgary Flames. That Sharks look is pretty solid. The Kraken road jersey was the one featured in Calgary, and this is a good look. When the Seattle Kraken came out with their jersey set, when they announced the franchise and the logos, I get a lot of exposure to the Kraken because I'm a season ticket holder for Seattle, living in the Pacific Northwest. That's my closest NHL arena. And so I wanted to be able to go watch the Flames when they played in Seattle, and certainly cheer on the Kraken when they're not playing Calgary from our seats. And the Kraken primary logo is really well done, with the stylized S that has the red eye that they use. well in the way that they market the team in home games. The white jersey, I think, is probably my favorite of their standard jerseys. But the one thing that I wish Seattle would use more of is that Seattle Space Needle anchor logo. In fact, most of the apparel that I've purchased for Kraken games features that anchor logo a little bit more. And so I think contrasting it to the way the Sharks came through with their alternative logo, I kind of lean toward that Sharks logo, because I do like San Jose's primary logo pretty okay. But at the same time, it feels a little bit more dated, and I like that Sharks logo. It feels a little bit more modern on the alternative jersey. The Kraken big S logo on the middle is fine. The white with the more light blue, maybe the light bluish green, kind of that sea green, is the prominent color on the sleeves, isn't my favorite, but I think that that's kind of also part of what's the difficult challenge with white unis anyway, is because unlike the Sharks jersey that they had with the alternative, you have kind of the black working down to the middle of the sleeve, and then you have that wide teal band. On the Seattle side, it kind of finishes out with the dark green, dark blue, probably is a better way to describe it, kind of that navy look toward the hand holes. And so I don't know. I think it's just an all right jersey. When there's an all right jersey, I'm going to put it kind of middle of the road. And so I'm going to give the Kraken's standard away jersey look in Calgary last Thursday as a C. Then there's the Golden Knights on Thursday. And I think VGK did a nice job with the original logo design, using the cutout in the Knights helmet as a V, using that negative space. So that looks kind of cool. I do also kind of like the shield that the Vegas Golden Knights helmet is inset on, but the white jersey is just one of my least favorite looks in the National Hockey League. The gold band is prominent, and I think if you're named specifically the Golden Knights, when you're wearing your whites, you have to be able to have something that you can hang your hat on. Much like the Kraken too, they have the alternate jersey or the alternate logo up on the shoulders, which looks pretty okay. And I do think compared to the Kraken's Space Needle anchor versus the cross arms, if you will, of the Vegas Golden Knights, it's not as good of a logo. But we're not talking logos here. We're talking aesthetics. Talk about the jerseys themselves. Too much gray up on the sleeves, too much gray on the back numbers, and even the gray band down on the waist. I don't appreciate a lot of what the Vegas Golden Knights do on these road jerseys. They look much better at home. Finding ways to maximize the look of the gold, obviously, is a lot easier to do when you're wearing the dark color versus when you're wearing a road white. And so as a result, I'm going to give the Golden Knights a D+. So going Sharks alternate jersey, then the Kraken standard road, then the Vegas Golden Knights. And those are letter grades that we can use to compare as the season progresses, where our starting point is right where I started to host the show, and I want to go from there through the end of the 2025-26 season for the way that we rank these. But we'll do it Top Gear style. If you ever watch the show Top Gear, they'd have a lap driven by their guests, and then they would rank it, basically where they slotted in against all the other folks who have ever driven a single lap in their test car for Top Gear. And I want to do that with us. So we'll kind of keep slotting these in. And if we need to start finding, a D++ versus a D+, dang it, that's what we're going to do. I've been using a lot of sound from NHL Flames on X. I really do enjoy hearing from the players, and I hope that comes across in our podcast so that you can hear from them as well. And it's not going to be something I do consistently, but I thought listening to MacKenzie Weegar talk about Ryan Lomberg, the Lamborghini, as the Flames, I've heard them reference. He had a big goal on Saturday and then got himself into a little bit of an altercation right after that and on the ensuing face-off. But I thought MacKenzie Weegar had what would be the equivalent of the old, not the Today Show, but the one that Jon Stewart does on Comedy Central. Was called A Moment of Zen, and I thought that was appropriate as we close out this episode.
Lombo's great. He's great for the locker room. He's great for just life in general.
There you go. Lombo, just great for life. And I hope that you take that away on this Monday edition of Locked On Flames. Coming up on Tuesday's show, we'll preview the first of the back-to-back Battle of Alberta games between Edmonton and Calgary. Make sure you subscribe and follow to Locked On Flames so you get all of the latest episodes. And if you need a last-minute holiday gift, someone keeps asking you what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes of the show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted. Go to lockedonflames.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. I'm Ryan G. We'll see you again on Tuesday for more Locked On Flames. Take care.